everybody, Jenn Denham here with Socialite on the Heat Tank with Hamid Yaz. Be sure to watch this episode to kind of figure out how I broke into the Texas market from another state, being an entrepreneur, a mom, and a wife, and really laser focusing on finding the perfect niche, target demographic audience, and clients here in the Texas market. Watch this video.
All right, another episode of Heat Tank here with Hamid Yaz, and we have a very special guest today because she came from another state here in Austin, Texas with us, from corporate marketing to starting her own brand, her own business, and then basically coming to a brand new market. I don't want to say trying to figure it out, but trying to network with the right people that can be influential and obviously beneficial to what she has going on and can obviously grow her brand. And how is she growing her brand and offer her services? Now imagine, obviously we can think back in maybe high school. You go to a brand new school, you don't know anybody. You're like, oh my God, I don't know these people. I got to make friends quick. I got to figure out the vibe of the school, see how everything goes. So today we are going to talk with Jenn Denham of Socialite Workshops and get her full story. Really interesting, very beneficial. So y'all take notes. If you are a woman, a mom, a wife, or just an entrepreneur in general, she has a lot of information because a lot of y'all are making big decisions in your life that could totally change your life. And she has made drastic changes in hers. And we want to hear exactly how she keeps her operations moving on the West Coast and obviously down here in Central Texas. So I want to introduce to y'all Jenn Denham on the Heat Tank.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting because I'm very curious, okay? First of all, before you were doing what you were doing now, which is obviously social media training, workshops, obviously you have your private clients as well, maybe the one-on-ones, is what exactly were you doing on the West Coast? How did you transition into what you're doing now? And then what got you to Texas to begin with? That's how I want to start it. And then we'll, of course, pick and pool everything from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started in the world of social media marketing pretty much straight out of college.
Okay.
I lived abroad for a couple of years, and when I came back, I was working for a large marketing firm that actually handled vehicle donation programs for nonprofits.
Okay.
So think, a lot of public radio, MAD, Sierra Club, they all have vehicle donation programs. Believe it or not, people donate their vehicles to nonprofits 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Get the tax write-off?
Yep. And my role with that company was to help those nonprofit partners use social media to drive donations, specifically vehicle donations. But I did a lot of traveling to those nonprofit partners that we ran their vehicle donation program. And I was there to train their volunteer base, their executive team on how to use Facebook, and Instagram wasn't even on the radar at that time.
This is what year, by the way, 2010?
This was like 2012.
Okay.
And so really it was focused on, using Facebook to drive donations. Okay. This was before GoFundMe, all of those things. Mm-hmm. So how to use, Facebook strategically as a nonprofit to kind of build that culture and that community. And then, obviously our end result as our company was to provide awareness of the vehicle donation program that nonprofit had we ran. So that's where I really got started. It was all kind of new. I mean, I think everyone knew it was valuable and they needed to be in that space, but everyone was still trying to figure out how it would work for their business, right?
I see.
So I did that for a few years and I really loved it. But I think when people talk about having a job that involves travel, it sounds a lot more glamorous than it actually is, right? So it was a lot of Southwest planes and Marriott hotels and boardrooms and volunteers and things like that.
Airport food.
Yeah. So it was awesome. I really loved the experience. I loved that company. I loved everyone that I worked with. But at the same time, I had a lot of my local friends and families, friends that own businesses locally that were like, hey, Jenn, I know you're doing this social media thing. I know I need to set something up. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? And I realized that there was definitely a hole in the market, there was this education element that hadn't happened on a local level for local business owners, right? Like Nike and Rolex, they all knew that they needed to have social media and be in the game and visibility. But I think like the local mom and pop shops were like, what do I do? How do I do this? And
or they didn't believe in it. Or they didn't believe in it, because in those days I was transitioning into digital and telling business owners, but they're like, well, what's the ROI? And you're like, well, you see the awareness and the this and the that, and they're like, if we don't see immediate money, we're not interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was also, and it still is that sounds great. I don't have a marketing team. Like, it's me and like these three people. Like, when are we going to find the time to do this? So, long story short, I found a niche there that needed to be serviced. And so that was local business owners that needed help figuring out like what to be doing in the digital space. And so started up the marketing firm on the West Coast. I am originally from California, growing up on the Central Coast. And
what year was this, by the way, 2012?
So it was pretty quick.
13?
Yeah. So like 2013, I started helping while I was still working at Cloud. And then 14, I really opened up the business. And then ever since, it's kind of, evolved and morphed into now Socialite workshops. But it has always been just wanting to help that local business owner figuring out like what to be doing in the digital space.
Exactly.
Because they actually have to run their business and they don't always have, the staffing capabilities to have in-house marketing and then keep that in-house marketing staff trained as things evolve and Instagram comes out and then it changes, right? Like it's so much constant upkeep. So so then we had the branch in Cardiff, California, which is North San Diego. I love that place. And we really loved it there when we had our second little boy. Okay. We knew that it was time for a change for our family. Okay. And we loved Austin. We loved the feel of Austin. So
how many kids? Is it just 2 total?
Yep. So I have 2 boys, 4 and 2, Atlas and Brock, and they are awesome. They have a whole lot of energy. Yeah. We were about 5 blocks from the beach when we lived in California. Wow. And so that as a quote unquote front yard was awesome. But I think everyone knows about the insane real estate prices in California. Yep. And it just wasn't going to be feasible for a growing family. So we checked out some different places and we really kind of fell in love with the Austin area. Okay. Brought us to the suburbs of Austin. And we've been here for going on almost 3 years now.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Did you have any, we'll say, business connections or any type of network in the Austin area? Or were you just like fresh and you're like, babe, let's go. We're going to Austin because it's a cool city, it's growing, or whatever was really, I don't want to call it the bait, but really the incentive for you guys to come. Maybe it was a job or whatever it was. But what was it that really made you say first Austin compared to every other city you might have looked at? And also just the full move, because that's like a life-changing thing. And who was here for you when you arrived?
Right. So again, we did look at a couple cities. One thing that was important to me was that there was growth in the marketplace, right? That businesses were booming there. They were growing. People were moving there. Small business economy was thriving. So that was something that was important to me because, again, my customer base is local business owners. And so there was a couple other, markets, usually kind of like a Denver or an Austin or things like that. And we were looking at those pretty strategically, but we also wanted kind of this life balance of outdoorsy feel. So there was a lot of things about Austin that aligned us here. When it comes to connections, we knew zip zero, no one. My husband's brother-in-law is in Pflugerville, but when it came to business connections, zilch. So there was definitely that hit the ground running, boots on the ground when we got here.
Wow, that's interesting. And, I think I made the analogy earlier about with schools back in high school or college even. You go in a new place, you're like, I don't know anybody here. But you got to learn really fast and adapt also because the way things are done in Cali aren't necessarily the way things are done in Austin. Even, believe it or not, parts of Mexico that I've gone to, it's like, oh, I thought all Mexico was like this. And no, this part of Mexico operates like this. This part operates like this. So I have to adapt as I travel as well. So you get to Austin, Texas area. What is your plan, okay? And I know what you were doing out there, but was it the same, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but were you kind of following the same template like, well, this is how I know how to do it there, let me try it here, and then did it actually work for you with your original plan?
So, no, I mean, it was not going to be copy and paste to what we did in California. That was definitely just the luxury of going to college there and building a circle of influence and a family and people that wanted to support me when I started the branch. When we got here, it was zero zip, right? So the strategy was, and I really wholeheartedly believe in this, is that you have to, whether it's a community online or locally, you have to show that you are someone that will just pour value into a community, a group of people, a group of business owners. And only once they've seen the value you can provide for free will we then turn the tables and say, hey, I have this product service to offer, right? So my strategy was to walk into the local chamber. I did some research on, chamber cultures. And
like who's who in the zoo, as I call it?
Who's who in the zoo, yeah. I immediately aligned with a chamber ambassador that's up in North Austin. She's a total rock star. That's cool. I just went straight into the chamber. I walked straight in and I said, I think we were here for 3 days. And I said, I just moved here. I have at that time, social media marketing management firm, right? We've since rebranded to Socialite Workshops. And I said, I would like to offer to do all of your Facebook Live videos for you. Here's how it goes. Yeah. You pick a member of the chamber. I'll go with you and show up, and we'll do a Facebook Live. You can do it live from the chamber's Facebook page, and you show some love to your members, and it's great exposure. Here's all the whys and analytics and the big snazzy of Facebook Live and why it's so cool. But that was really strategic. I think a lot of people have heard from savvy business owners that you kind of have to offer your services for free, or to find a mentor and prove yourself, or learn by learning from mentors. But I think there's something that people are missing in that. When you go to someone that's an industry leader or influential in your industry, right, like breaking into a new market, and you say something as simple as, how can I help you? Yeah. Or can I be a mentor? Can you give me something to do? Yeah. You've now made it their problem to find something for you to do.
I see.
Right? And so I think that's one thing that I found to be almost like work against you, right? Like if I came to you and I said like, hey, Hamid, like I want to learn from you, like what's something I can do? Like you may be like, all right, Jenn, like, and find something. Or if I came to you and said, here's what I can do for you for free.
Yeah.
For this reason.
Does it benefit you?
Does it benefit you? Yeah. And that's a very strategic way to go to someone and have them say either yes or no, but maybe you could do this, right? Yeah. So again, I went to the chamber, I went to some other organizations and just offered to teach workshops for free, to, offer and donate my services to do certain things for obviously, groups of people that deserved it. I definitely wasn't going to like my golden goose client saying I'll work for free. I was working to get to them.
But also somebody always knows somebody, especially within chambers. As long as I'm a member of a Westlake chamber here in Oswald, Westlake area, and people know people, and once they see that you've quote unquote proven yourself, they say, hey, you know what? I know somebody, and then your name comes up, and it leads to paid gigs or bookings or whatever you classify it as. So what you're saying is totally the right way to do it, especially when no one knows who the heck you are. Especially
when no one knows who you are in Texas.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, well, that's what I mean. I mean,
didn't want to
in this area. In this area is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I definitely didn't want to come off. I mean, let's just be all the elephant in the room here. Yeah. Californians aren't totally wide open arms accepted in the Texas market.
Yeah,
right?
we're like, go back home.
Yeah, right.
That's
so
the reality.
I definitely didn't want to come off as like, hey, I'm here, I know this, buy my products and services, right? Like I wanted to come into the marketplace, the community, and just provide value and training and education and support to businesses like a chamber or, a nonprofit organization that helps entrepreneurs, to align myself with these organizations in a strategic way to become an industry leader or someone that someone looks to for information. Yeah. And then after time, right, you can kind of turn those tables and start offering products and services.
Yeah,
so that was kind
the
of
transactions started happening.
Yeah, and you just don't come off like, a salesperson
Yeah.
right away.
Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this, because I believe you said 3 years you've been here technically, right? Mm-hmm. And your sons, Brock and Atlas, right? It was a cool name, by the way, Atlas.
Yeah.
I went to school with a guy named Brock who listened to Slayer all the time, and he had a buzz cut and everything. He's like, yeah, Slayer, and all this stuff. I remember that.
That might kind of fit his personality.
Yes,
so
yeah.
Personality and a name for sure.
There we go. So my question is, you've been here 3 years, 2 and 4 years old. So obviously when you got here, one was barely being thought of. We'll leave it like that.
Yeah.
So how did all of that mom life affect your the way you were moving and your ability to get things done? Or do you feel like, oh, I got this new kid now, shoot, how did the mom life actually affect the launch, we'll say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I have to kind of preface this with my husband is our stay-at-home dad. And so I get a lot of questions from, moms that are entrepreneurs and, wanting to do things part-time. And, I think there is a ton of ability to do that. I am unfortunately not the person to be able to help them understand how to do that while balancing, the schedules of the kids. I'm pretty blessed with the fact that my husband completely has that down pat. Now, I will tell you, it has taken some time, right? Culturally, it's not the norm, right?
Okay.
So there are things that we've had to put in place as far as communication and who's doing what and where, I travel now sometimes to do some of these workshops for national conferences and things like that. So we are definitely...
gotta go, babe, toodles.
Yeah, and so we definitely had to be partners in this business. And so I think setting expectations, right? Each understanding the expectation of who's doing what, and then putting pen to paper. I mean, I'm not joking. We live and die by our Google Calendar, and everything is color coordinated. And then we plan out on our written calendar in our kitchen. It sounds super cheesy, but we write out even what is happening for dinner a week out. So we have this calendar that sits in our kitchen, and we plan out who's going to be where and what's going on. So we do it on a Sunday night, right? And we plan it for the week, and we even write down what's happening for dinner and who's in charge of it. Just because people get tired. There's 2 kids. You're stressed. You're coming home. I have a client meeting that didn't go the way I wanted it, right? And then we get home, and everyone's like, "What's for dinner?" And then it's all chaos, right? So I think the one thing that I would probably throw out there into the mom world is that if you're an entrepreneur and you have a partner that's working or not working, that the one way to set yourself up for success before the heat of the moment, right, is to just sit down on a cool Sunday night where you're drinking wine and you're not stressed in the week. Breathe and be like, what are we doing this week? And I have, friends that come over and they're like, man, you still have that it's an erasable calendar that literally is our chicken scratch every week, and it's everything we're doing. So I know it sounds super simple, but it's things like that help us move the parts of a family. And
as long as it works, also, that's another thing, because for some people, they don't want it like that. They just they're off the cuff. And I have family members like that assume I have nothing else going on that day and just need me to do something real quick that could take an hour. But as long as you know exactly where you're going to be on this day at this time, it helps basically make you into a better person. And you're very time management is another thing, because a lot of entrepreneurs, like I said, they go off the cuff and they're just like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out when I wake up in the morning. Man, I know exactly what time I'm going to wake up every day for the next 2 weeks, honestly. So, but no, but go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there, because if it works, just keep doing it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think chaos happens regardless.
Oh, yeah.
You got kids, you got chaos, for sure. I mean, I think the system we've put in place has kind of, melded the way that it is. It doesn't, avoid, oh my gosh, we forgot this, right? But it helps. I think arguments happen sometimes in the heat of the moment because there's unmet expectations. I thought you were doing this. You thought I was doing this, right? So if you can at least try and avoid 99% of that by planning it out and having it in a visible place, then it's
there's no room for confusion.
It wasn't me. It's on the calendar, right? Yeah. There's that kind of stuff. So we've been able to kind of work through all of that, and he is super supportive, which is awesome. I mean, it's got to be hard. 2 kids under 5 and mom's out of town for a week, right? They are the three musketeers most of the time. But yeah, it's
both boys, you said too.
Two boys. Yeah, that's a lot of energy. So it's a lot. But I think I hate work-life balance. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But I think people are attracted to entrepreneurship and business ownership because you can, take off. We took almost 3 months off from October to January and traveled together and visited family and went on vacation. And so when you think about, some of the things you take for granted, it ends up working out in the long run too, which I think people are attracted to. This crazy lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's also when you come back from that 3 months, it's like, oh shoot, I need to make some more money now. Because I'm not saying that the money has ran out, but it's like, okay, time to get back into mode.
Yeah,
I've done it myself. When I leave for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, okay, great, I'm back. God dog, I need to go make some more money now to replenish what went out. It's like we need stuff to come in. That's the reality. So before we get into exactly how your business operates, whether it's with one-on-one private clients or whether it's group settings and such, I want to talk about that work-life balance because I know me and you prior have had conversations somewhat about that, where is there really a work-life balance? Is it kind of the best we can do? Like, how does someone like you, a high-performance go person that seems like it's all gas, no brakes, well, occasional pump the brakes maybe, how do you define, or is that phrase even in your vocabulary of work-life balance, and what kind of advice do you give for other, especially mothers, whether their husband is working or not working, or regardless of the situation, how do you want to address that to not just me, but to other people as well?
Yeah, I know we laugh about this work-life balance thing, but I have to say, I don't know why personally, it just, for me, and people can interpret that phrase differently. And I know that there's some amazing life business coaches out there that help women kind of work on this concept of work-life balance. Yeah. And I think that is awesome. I think when I hear it personally, I feel like it sets an expectation, an unrealistic expectation for me that there's supposed to be balance across all parts of my life, right? So not even just family and business, but health, and then giving back to your community and your extended family and friends. My gosh,
everybody needs something.
Everyone needs something, right? And so I think for me, again, personally, when it comes to balance, I guess the only even advice, I don't even know if I feel like I'm worthy enough of saying this, but the advice that I would give to women entrepreneurs and business owners is that the balance is just what works best for you, right? So, I mean, you have to kind of think of it as, I'm writing a book, I have a business, I have a family, I have 2 toddlers, we have all these things. One of those things is probably not getting 100%.
It's getting neglected somewhat.
Right. And so, again, I think when it comes to planning, right? So, right now, I'm in this phase of finishing this book. This is a crazy bit of a phase, right? Yep. So, I have to allocate for that. And sometimes that means, after they go to bed, that I have to go back into the office, for 3 or 4 hours and just work on this and just recognize that I'm not failing at work-life balance right now, but there's something that has to be done, right? Or, hey, I need to block off some writing time on Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons, right?
Just focus and can't say Sunday. No distractions.
Yeah, not Sundays. Don't give your Sundays. But yeah, I think the whole work-life balance for women is just first, please do not put one more expectation on yourself that you are supposed to have everything balanced. Recognize there's going to be business growth phases. There's going to be family phases. There's going to be phases where you just have to go into it intentionally knowing, hey, babe, these 2 months are going to be nuts. I'm traveling. I got to finish writing the book. All of these things, right? I have some private clients and some workshops. It's going to be nuts. We just got back from 3 months of vacation. I need a little bit of give, right? And I think if you have those conversations and there's that expectation, right, that's set correctly, I think you can get through that. But again, you can't fire on all cylinders all the time. So trying to plan out those growth phases as soon as possible and, those passion projects strategically can kind of help. Because I think if you went back to back of I'm going to grow the business and then I'm going to write the book and then I'm going to do this, it's so you're saying everything on this side is going to really get hit hard for the next, 3 phases. So,
and then something new can come up and you're like, oh, wait, I just got distracted.
Yeah.
But it's a beneficial distraction because it can help me with whatever to help this. And there's always, I don't want to say a wrench being thrown in, but there's always new opportunities that arise. We'll leave it like that.
That's a very good way to put it. Yeah. But I think, again, just back to the balance, have a plan, like a strategic plan of this is what we're planning to do. It's probably going to go off course here and there. But I mean, we try to plan out our vacations for the year, like knowing when we're going to have times off. We're going to, try and plan things out. But then life happens and things get squirrely. Yep. But, work-life balance is always going to be hard for moms. I'm not knocking, the single dads or stay-at-home dads or working dads or whatever. But I think as women, we tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? And we definitely... we lay in bed at night, and I'm going to say we, and I'm going to try to make a broad statement for all women right now because I know it's probably 99% true. We lay in bed at night and have lists that just never stop. And they're lists of like, I need to do this and this and this. And I'm not saying that men don't do this too, but my husband starts snoring pretty quickly when his head hits the pillow.
Well, after dealing with 2 kids under 5, that's probably why.
Totally well-deserved.
Probably why that
Totally
happens.
Well-deserved. But I'm just saying, I think we tend to already overthink and, overanalyze and kind of beat ourselves up sometimes. Yeah. So I think that's why I have that struggle with that work-life balance phrase.
I see.
It's another expectation that we're putting on ourselves that it's supposed to be balanced.
True. Well, that's a great way that you described it all and the way you look at it, because some people might even disagree. They say, no, you have to this, you have to that. But the go people like us, we're just like, we do the best we can, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, sometimes it hurts a lot of people's feelings, depending on who it could be. But that comes with the territory of the type of work that we choose to do. Now, getting into the brand and the business, my question is this, because I know you have your one-on-one clients. You also do, obviously, a lot of workshops. What do you prefer the most, though? What really is like more satisfying, self-serving for you? Is it to go into a setting where there's 30 people that are entrepreneurs? Obviously, I teach workshops as well. You have some that are freaking rock stars. They got it down, but they're lacking certain little areas. There's some people that show up that have no clue what the heck that they're doing, okay? And it's okay, because that's also part of your job to get them to either the next level or to get them see certain blind spots, as we've talked before, or the one-on-ones. What do you prefer the most and why?
That's a really great question. So what has evolved through these years of kind of being in the it's not even social media marketing. I really almost just phrase it as like social marketing, right? I enjoy working with those local business owners, right? So that's a really big big
one-on-one with them or with their team?
Yeah, in a workshop setting. And so like here's why. So I feel like social media, and you probably totally agree, has evolved and like sped up and went super fast, and we're like in it.
It's like a wildfire.
Yeah, it's a wildfire since it started. Like we've only been in this. Like how long are billboards and commercials been around? And then all of a sudden, some social media is like whoom and takes off, right? So I think what I really like helping local small business owners realize is that social media from a big company, big corporate feel, they really want those branding numbers and the eyeballs and this constant content, and that's great. And I think a lot of small business owners kind of follow like, I need so many followers and I need so many likes and I need so much, eyeballs. Yeah. But at the end of the day, and I use this example a lot, if you're like a local restaurant and you have a ton of followers, right, untargeted followers and a bunch of likes, and no one comes in for happy hour, like your doors are not staying open, right? That's true. And so I just think the strategy for a local business owner is just a little bit different. And when I say local business owner, that could be a mom and pop. It could be you just bought a painting franchise and you're bringing it here, and
they need money in the register.
Yeah, and you have all this great marketing, these marketing assets like from the parent company, right? Because it's a franchise model. You've bought in that because there's security and brand awareness. But now you're bringing it back. Like, let's even take this example, this painting company, and you've bought in it and you went to training and did all that, and then you've brought in this painting company back to, LA or Austin or Montana. or Florida, like you have to relate that marketing content to the local market,
Yeah,
right?
because they
Like,
might vibe differently.
yeah. And so I think there's a lot of things that happen in the workshop. One, I love that we've evolved. I've evolved from just speaking to a room to doing what I call our workshop and our lab portions.
Okay.
So I get up there and kind of speak and the why, and then I demo, and then they go into a lab. And so you actually have the business owners working in a workbook, pulling out their phone and, perfecting their bios and, making sure there's keywords in there and sending some DMs to business owners if they're B2B and really just like being in it,
I think I was at one workshop in particular. Was it an Instagram workshop maybe, or I believe it was an Instagram one specifically for that day. Was specifically an Instagram one. I kind of popped in to check it out. It was really interesting how some people are so advanced, but some people have no clue what the heck they're doing. But it's okay though, because you kind of level the playing field, because even the ones that are so advanced, knowing how to push buttons is one thing, but knowing what to say or do or the context of whatever it is really what matters. Because you can know where all the buttons are, but if you don't know what the heck you're doing when you push those buttons, it's not going to convert or get the result that you're looking for.
Right, absolutely. And the workshops have, different themes to them, and there's different skill levels for different workshops. And you're absolutely right. I mean, there'll be a business, a room of 100 people, and, some of them don't even know if they have a business Facebook or Instagram account set up. And they're like, is this a business account? And then some of them are like rock stars, right?
Yeah.
And they're wanting to perfect their hashtag strategies and things like that. So again, I don't even find a common denominator across, businesses based on how successful they are or their revenue.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of these same questions happening from different types of business owners, right? Like I have the gal that's just started up a quilting business out of her home, and she's got like 20,000 engaged followers of a target market, and she's rocking it. And then I've got someone that's running a multi-million-dollar business, and like their cousin set up their Instagram and they're locked out, right? Like, so it's usually
it happens. Trust me, it happens.
Yeah. So it's kind of across the board. But I think what I've loved about where the workshops have gotten is those light bulb moments that go off, right? Like there's technical training in them, but then there's also, the two things that I hear from local business owners, small local business owners all the time is when it comes to social media is one, I have to now do this for the lifetime of my business, right? I don't see social media going away anytime soon. So that means I need to be posting consistently targeted content that speaks to my audience for the lifetime of my business multiple times a week. I'm running out of things to say, right?
Or train or hire someone that can actually do it.
Well, right. But first they're like, I need to figure out like
what
do I say?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, when am I finding time in my business to do this? Yeah. Right. And I think there's absolutely a time where you have to outsource, right? Like you can never wear all the hats and scale your business. Yeah. But I think business owners right now where we are have thought, well, of course I'm going to hire a bookkeeper and someone to do my taxes and I need insurance. But hiring out social media isn't like it's not like the first thing they outsource, right? So they are trying to understand it. And I also think that it's really good for the business owners or, one of the core partners of a business to understand what it really should be. So when they outsource it, they're like, I know what this should be. I know what this should look like.
They know the right questions to ask.
I know the right questions to ask. I know what to be expecting. But again, those two questions is, what am I saying that's going to engage people, right? Because we don't want to just talk about ourselves the whole time. Yeah. And then how am I finding time to do this? That's another part of the workshop where we actually dive into creating content at scale, because this can become very exhausting, right? Yeah. And what I found in small business owners is the social media job sounds really snazzy in the beginning. If you own like a orthodontist or a dentist office, right? The gal at the front or one of the millennials there like gets all excited about it, but
give it to them. They know how to do it.
They know how to do it. And sometimes they do. And sometimes it's not the right fit because what social media, doing it strategically like a sales campaign, aligned with your other marketing campaigns, running reports to be able to, line up with those sales reports. This has to be an ROI-driven part of your business, right? I think sometimes the quote-unquote millennial, the person that will just do it, doesn't end up doing it effectively. It just becomes like posting on the fly, not a true social media strategy. So again, helping those local business owners, franchise owners, you name it, that come to the workshops kind of have those aha moments and then leave with something like, okay, I think I get what our social media strategy needs to be. And then they can make those decisions on, we can do this, or this is something that's going to cost us this much and we need to find a way to make that happen.
I see what you're saying. No, it's very true, and it's funny when you said something about the multi-million-dollar business. I've personally seen, like, I look at the inside, because one thing when you see the brand, but it's another thing when you get on the inside of the business, and you're like, how the heck are these people still operating? Like, they don't know this. And I had a client who, we'll just say she worked for, before she started her own thing, a very luxurious car. I'm sorry, automotive maker. I'll just leave it like that. Top luxury. And she was telling me some of the stories about the corporate office, and I was like, really? She's like, if the world knew what happens before it hits that door, like it stops at the door, she goes, we'd probably be on Bloomberg, CNN, MSNBC, blah, 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 blah. She goes, but we know how to contain it and control it. But before we start wrapping it up, I want to ask you, what are 3 specific things that your average business owner, okay? And I know I won't get into it, but I've talked entrepreneur versus business owner, but your average business owner in the Austin, Texas area, what are 3 main things that are, I don't want to say red flags, but are very common? They're doing this wrong, they're doing this wrong, and they're doing this wrong. And they're kind of stopping themselves from growing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be regarding social media. It could be other things like their books. You go into a business and their book, they don't know how much they're making, and they don't know how many customers they're losing per month, whatever. What are 3 common things that you see almost across the board?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I'm like, think. So one of the things for sure I will say is that there 9 times out of 10, right, regardless of the size of the business, there isn't a tracking system for what they're doing for their social media efforts.
Okay.
And I don't even care if that starts as a Google Drive, right? Or a Google Sheet or a Excel spreadsheet of like the time it's taking to create this content and execute it. I just think that we're aware, right? Like people track like, oh, I spent this on paid advertising and radio and whatever. Yeah. And social media kind of falls in this gray area of like, we don't know what we did, right? Yeah. So I really think that we need to recognize that it's here. It's insanely valuable. It's super powerful to use on a local level. But we need to look at it not as just a branding tool, right? Like just throwing up photos. Like, please don't be the business that throws up the stock photos,
because you got
right?
5 minutes to do it real quick.
Yeah. Like it really needs to start being a true part of your marketing campaigns, like a holistic part, right? And so I think that's one, and it's going to look different for every single business. But I think if you can say with your team or your partner, we look at social media not just as like throwing up a photo and doing some hashtags, but like a strategic part of like our best sales months and when we're going to be low. Like let's load that and all of those things that we get into in the workshops and the trainings. I think that is one. I think the second one by and far is please stop talking about yourself.
You mean like, hold on. I want to throw this in there for the restaurants, okay? Especially restaurants. This is what I'm talking about social media. When I see Mexican restaurant or Asian, doesn't matter what it is. When you look at their Instagram, their Facebook, all it is the plate, the plate, the plate, the plate, the plate, the plate. I don't see any customer experiences. I don't see any work staff actually smile. The cook, I want to know that the cook is smiling. I don't care if they're singing the Macarena or doing the Macarena in the kitchen. If I know the cook is having a good time at work, I know my food is probably going to be top notch. Even if it's a staged video, it doesn't matter. I mean, I would prefer it be authentic, but they can pull it off to look authentic. But something like that, in my opinion, is what the world needs to see, because if it's just food, that's basically saying product. So
salesy.
That's salesy. That's all it really is. And it's like, that's the best you got. And that's why people like you come in and say, okay, look, that's cool. We know you got this, but you don't got to put on every single post. There's more to a strategy than just putting your best plates. And before I let you continue with number 3 is, I had not a conversation. I was in a room with Jack Gilmore of Jack Allen's Kitchen. And I think he's at Salt Traders or something is a new restaurant that he has. He said something, Bobby Steiner was there, Jack Gilmore, and somebody else from Sway, I believe it was. And Jack said something very, very interesting. I'll never forget. He said, it's not about being the best restaurant in your city, okay? He said it's about being the favorite restaurant in your city. Because you can have the best lobster, the best this, the best that, but if people aren't going because you haven't really drawn people in, you're not going to make money, and it's going to close down. So.
Yeah,
That's my
absolutely.
2 cents, but yeah.
No, but like it's totally true. And your restaurant analogy works with literally almost every other business that I see doing this. Another huge one that does this. Ready for it?
Talk to me.
The realtors.
Oh,
if
my
you
gosh.
are a realtor and you post all your listings, congratulations, you've done a great job at branding Zillow. You have not done a great job of branding yourself, right? Like people, insurance agent, financial wealth advisors, real estate agents, like no one's doing business with you.
Yeah.
Like maybe they find a cool listing that's on your Instagram, right? But like by and far, those industries, people do business with people, right? And the people that I've seen be insanely successful with this have just like gotten over the fear of being on camera and do things on IGTV and do things with Facebook Live video and provide value. Like landscapers and plumbers, you guys, like everyone knows that stock photo is not the plumber or not the landscaper that's showing up to their house, right? Like we are far away from stock photos. We are the consumer psychology now is we want to know what it looks like. The staff that's cooking our food, like we want to know the people that are in this business, right? Because again, we're talking about local business owners. So that's the number 2 thing, right? Like we just see people using, I have great reviews and I have, 5 stars and
it's me.
Yeah. And like, I mean, the whole goal, right, is to get people to stop scrolling. And believe me, they're not going to stop scrolling to read how you talk about yourself for the 15th time, right? And when we even talk about Instagram, it's a lifestyle feed, right?
Yes.
So if every photo is a product or something that you're selling, it just becomes very salesy.
Yeah, too much transaction
intent. We want to
want
build a relationship. And I've seen State Farm agents create an amazing feed that's just branded about them and their community, right? And it's very approachable. I mean, the goal of like, I feel like any marketing material is that the consumer or the potential client sees it and subconsciously imagines doing business with you, right? Because they see you and they hear you.
And some people just want to be next to that person, believe it or not. And that's one thing I'm seeing with different people, especially in Austin area. There's the product that's available, but they got to go through the person to get to the product. But they like the person, so they say, oh, that person is going to make this process to purchase this so smooth, so easy, so less stress, less whatever it is. But I see what you're saying where you're basically bridging the gap between the product, but the business owner or entrepreneur has to learn how to have people like them or him or her, whoever it is, to get to that product or that specific service.
Right. And I think to kind of go on to that and to number 3 is that when you're creating content for your social media, regardless of the platform, that you're creating the content geared toward what's important to your best types of clients.
I see.
Right? So one of the things that we do in our workshops and our consults is we teach them to recognize who are these people? Like, let's actually put a name and an age and interest to these people that you're trying to connect with so you can sit in the shoes of who they are and what's important to them. So then you can relate, value elements of your business to them and it'll attract them to your content,
also,
right?
what would they want to hear if it was, flipped around? Or
Yeah, like what's important to them, right? And it's interesting, even some bigger businesses, I'll share this example, I talk about this example in our workshops, is that, there was a very successful jewelry business that we were working with, and they were saying, we know exactly who we're targeting. She's boho chic. She shops at Whole Foods, right? Kind of creating a client persona. Shops at Whole Foods, holistic yoga, like target to her. All of our marketing target to her. And, when we get into the insights, right? Like you definitely should be, maybe that's number 3 star. You should be looking at your insights in social media. When we looked at those, there was an audience that was looking at the content but not engaging with it.
I see.
I'm going to ask you, can you think of maybe who that demographic would be?
Was it an Austin? Well, first, was it an Austin business?
It was not an Austin business. Okay. So think about this. Here's the hint. Who buys jewelry for women?
Men.
Yep. So there was not any content that was solving a problem for them or saying this is your solution, right? So even this big successful business created all of this great content, but very specific to, I guess you would call like the end user, but not the person that would like get that product to that person, right? So,
but like they were talking to the women, but the men were the ones that needed to hear it. Basically, is what you're saying,
right? Like, I mean,
but they weren't talking to the men. They were marketing towards women, but it's like, so let's say 75% aren't even the women that are making the purchase, anyways.
Right. It was more along the lines of, recognizing that there should be, 5, 10, 8 different client personas that you create content for that speaks to them and the problems it solves for them. I mean, this is very strategic for realtors, right? Like you're working with empty nesters, you're working with first-time home buyers. You should have content that speaks to all those different demographics. It keeps it dynamic, it keeps it educational, and it avoids you talking about yourself the whole time, which is great. So, yeah, I guess that would be number 3.
Well, those 3 were super insightful, and I know a lot of people are going to watch and say, oh my gosh, that's me. But we want them to say, oh my gosh, that's me, because it helps them know what they need to change. So we've ran out of time, but what I want to know first before we close out, is there something in particular that you want to leave, whether it's some games, some knowledge, some tips, tricks, whatever it is, go on for a minute or two, whatever you want to leave the people with for the local entrepreneur or business owner. Obviously, your links are below and they can contact you. But what specifically do you want to let them know if you had a business owner or entrepreneur right here in front of you?
I would just want to kind of leave out there that I think we can all agree that social media is here to stay. It evolves quickly. I understand that. And it, changes all the time. Yep. But I think we have to recognize that, one, it's an important part of your local business.
Yes.
Even if you don't have a physical location, right? You're a home-based business. It's an important branding tool. It's an important engaging tool. And we have to learn how to utilize it. We have to learn how to make it work for our business. And then we need to embed it with our other marketing campaigns. Yeah. So I would really stress that we can't look at social media as just posting on the fly. Okay. We need to have a strategy that's put into place that we can put an ROI behind. Yeah. So dive in with your team, dive in with your partner, figure out what platform makes sense for you, what posting schedule works great for your company, and then really put a handle on it. So come 2021, 2022,
and beyond,
you have some numbers to look at, you see some growth, and you see that ROI.
Very good. Well, Jenn Denham, I appreciate your time. Obviously, they can find you the links below. You saw it here first on the Heat Tank.
Thanks so much.